Welcome to Mercy Medical Center's live webinar. I am Lynn Dennis, Program Coordinator, and today's topic is Manage Your Stress and Sleep Better. Joining us is Megan Esch, Counselor at Mercy Family Counseling EAP. After a discussion, she will take questions from our audience. To submit your questions anytime during the discussion, go to the window in the upper right-hand corner of your screen and type in your question. If you don't see the screen, click on the orange box with the white arrow. Your questions will be confidential. Welcome to the webinar, Megan. I'm going to turn the mic over to you now so we can go ahead and get started.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I am here to talk to you about stress and sleep hygiene. Today we will cover the basics. What is stress and how does it affect us? What is sleep and how does it work? And later we will look closely at different ways to understand and manage these important areas in our lives. We will start today by breaking down the concept of stress. You are the expert on the stress in your own life, and I am not here today to try to eliminate the stress in your life. Our aim should not be to completely avoid stress, as that would be impossible, but instead to learn to recognize the way in which the stress you experience is affecting you personally, and learn to modify your response and cope in a more effective manner. Let's start by breaking down the idea of stress. Stress is identified as the pressure or tension felt when faced with a situation that is new, unpleasant, or threatening. It is a combination of a stressor and a stress reaction. A stressor is defined as any situation or thing that holds the potential for a stress reaction. The stress reaction, then, is the body's subsequent physiological response. This response varies according to the individual, but typically includes increased heart rate, blood pressure, and respiration. The key to understanding stress is perception. Everyone will respond different to the stress that he or she encounters. A situation that is potentially threatening or stressful for one individual may not be for another. It is important to take a personal inventory and consider the role that perception plays in the stress you experience. There are two common types of stress. The first is eustress. Eustress can be and tends to be motivating. It is experienced in situations and events that require some effort, but ultimately provide a great deal of satisfaction. Some situations usually require some level of planning and preparation, but can be enjoyable. Examples include short-term stress that arises during events and situations such as weddings, births, sporting events, and performances. The second type of stress is known as distress. This is the type of stress we are here to talk about today. Distress commonly takes two forms. The first, acute, surfaces quickly and is quite intense, although it disappears just as quickly. A good example of acute distress is the feeling you may have when you see flashing red lights in your rearview mirror. Your heart may start to race as you begin to think about the fines, increased insurance costs, and maybe having to admit to your spouse that you got another ticket. Your body begins to experience an intense stress response. However, when the officer says that he is going to let you off with a warning, the stress response quickly decreases. The second type of distress is known as chronic distress. This type may not appear quite so intense, yet seems to linger for prolonged periods of time. An example of chronic distress is the hour-long commute to work on a crowded interstate each day that causes you to frequently arrive late to work. Let's talk a little more about the stress response. This response is simply the way in which the human body reacts to stress. The human body is hardwired by nature to react to stress in a way that was originally meant to protect you against perceived threats from predators and aggressors. This is known as the fight or flight response. During the period in human history where survival meant hunting and gathering, there was a frequent need to either protect and defend oneself from pursuing threat or to run and escape the ensuing danger. This response is triggered by a release of hormones, including adrenaline and cortisol, which lead to a variety of physiological responses. These responses include increased heart rate, faster breathing, dilated pupils, increased blood pressure, a surge in blood sugar levels, and relaxed intestinal muscles. However, in the modern world, the stress we encounter doesn't generally require us to physically fight or run away, so that energy is then stuck in your body. For this reason, chronic, long-term stress can be very harmful because the stress response is constantly on. Typically, the body is able to regulate itself after experiencing stress. However, with chronic stress, it fails to do so. When the body is continuously in a state of exhaustion, our defenses are lowered and we become more susceptible to mental and physical illness. Unresolved stress leads to muscle and joint pain, stomach pain, indigestion, anxiety, tension, helplessness, anger, irritability, and confusion. Research tells us that as many as 80% of all health-related problems are either caused by or exacerbated by stress. The long-term activation of the stress response can upset almost all of your body's processes. Stress contributes to anxiety, depression, digestive disorders, headaches, sleep disorders, diabetes, and lowered immune system functioning, which contributes to allergies, cold, flu, and other viruses. Now that we know what stress is, let's talk about the role it plays in our life. Stress can be experienced at home, in our personal lives, and at work. Working hard should not be confused with overworking. A 2007 study from the American Psychological Association demonstrated that 74% of employees regard their work as a significant source of stress. 86% of men and 67% of women report working over 40 hours per week. Overworking comes at the expense of relationships and physical health. A 2008 study published in the Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine indicated that people who work the most overtime are at increased risk of developing anxiety and depression. Job stress causes U.S. businesses an estimated $300 billion per year through absenteeism, diminished productivity, and direct medical, legal, and insurance fees. Long hours are not the only thing contributing to job stress. Many adult employees feel that job stress can be exacerbated by the pressures of today's technology. Thanks to email, BlackBerries, iPhones, tablets, and laptops, we are constantly connected, making it more difficult to leave work at work. When working hard does turn into overworking, we begin to experience what is known as burnout. In the medical profession, this may also be referred to as compassion fatigue. Burnout is the gradual process by which a person, in response to prolonged stress and physical, mental, and emotional strain, detaches from work and other meaningful relationships, or otherwise resorts to protect themselves through psychological defenses or negative coping. As I mentioned, burnout is a graduate process that occurs in stages. The first stage is exhaustion. During this stage, the individual becomes physically, emotionally, cognitively, and psychologically tired. He or she may begin looking for shortcuts at work or at home to avoid stress. This often leads to frustration or guilt for cutting corners and can have a negative effect on self-esteem. This leads to the second stage of burnout, cognitive impairment. During this stage, individuals begin to feel shame about their declining work performance and begin to doubt their ability to perform well. This may lead to a loss of confidence and a profound sense of vulnerability. In the third stage, psychological defensiveness, the stress has become so intense or so common that the individual may begin to feel cynical and callous. In an attempt to protect the self from further feelings of vulnerability, he or she puts on an armor and may no longer even recognize moments of happiness because he or she is too focused on waiting for the other shoe to drop. Finally, in the last stage, emotional and behavioral collapse, the individual feels failure, helplessness, and crisis at all times. He or she may take on the attitude, "Why bother? It won't matter anyway." An individual in this stage often experiences symptoms of depression and anxiety and may even experience physical symptoms of discomfort. In order to understand the stress in your own life, you must first be aware of the many signs and symptoms of stress, and then consider how your perceptions, your attitude, and the way that you talk to yourself may be contributing to these symptoms. Signs and symptoms of stress include emotional symptoms such as feeling helpless or hopeless, feeling chronically overwhelmed, uncharacteristic or increased feelings of anger, and depression or anxiety. Behavioral symptoms include withdrawal and isolation, changes in ordinary behavior patterns, and changes in daily activities of life, including your eating habits, sleeping patterns, and personal self-hygiene. Physical symptoms include excessive sweating, dizzy spells, increased resting heart rate, elevated blood pressure, and rapid, shallow breathing. And finally, cognitive symptoms include confusion in thinking, difficulty making decisions, and disorientation. One's reality is created by the way in which they view the world. This is why our attitude and self-talk is so important for our general health and well-being, as well as our ability to cope with stress. It has been said that if you change your thoughts, you can change your situation. Next, we will take a look at the differences between healthy thinking and toxic thinking patterns. On some level, most people tend to operate off of habit. One of these habits is the tendency to allow automatic thoughts to drive our behavior. These automatic thoughts are also known as cognitive distortions. Some examples of common cognitive distortions are all or nothing thinking. This type of thought pattern is black and white. If your performance falls short of perfect, you see yourself as a complete failure. Labeling and mislabeling is an extreme form of overgeneralizing. Instead of describing or evaluating an error, you may instead attach a negative label to yourself. When someone else's behavior rubs you the wrong way, you attach a negative label to them. Instead of saying to yourself, "I've made a mistake," you may say or think, "I am a failure." Overgeneralization is a type of thought distortion that happens when a single negative event is seen as a never-ending pattern of defeat. Jumping to conclusions is the tendency to make negative interpretations even though there are no definite facts to support your conclusion. Dwelling on the negative is the habit of allowing one negative defeat to distort your vision of reality. Disqualifying the positive is the habit of dismissing positive experiences by insisting that they don't count for one reason or another. Making unfavorable comparisons is comparing ourselves to someone who seems better, happier, stronger, richer, or more successful. Unfortunately, when you compare yourselves to others, you're typically going to come out on the losing side. Should statements are a form of toxic thinking that occur when you add pressure to your life by trying to motivate yourself with shoulds, shouldn'ts, musts, or oughts. Catastrophizing is the habit of exaggerating the importance of things, such as viewing a small mistake as the worst thing that could happen. Personalization. This occurs when you tend to see yourself as the cause of some negative external event which in fact you are not primarily responsible for. Blaming. Blaming is the opposite of personalization. This form of toxic thinking takes place when we don't take accountability for our actions and instead blame those around us. Replacing these negative, self-defeating thoughts with more positive statements, such as those listed on the screen, can not only change our attitude, but improve confidence and self-esteem. Examples of healthy thinking include, "This too shall pass, and my life will be better." "Is this constant worrying changing anything for the better?" "Is this a good way to spend my energy?" "I am not helpless. I can and will take steps to get through this." "This is an opportunity, not a threat." "I can use this experience to change my direction or try a new approach." "I am doing the best that I can." "I am an imperfect person. Mistakes happen and I will learn from them." "I choose to be in control of my life." "I will respond, not react to this situation." "I cannot control the behaviors of others. I can only control my own." "Other people's opinions are just their opinions." "My past does not control my future." And finally, "I choose to be a happy person." Now that we know a little bit more about stress and the way that it manifests itself in our lives, we're going to switch gears and talk about what to do with all of that stress. Coping with stress requires change. We will now discuss the 5 A's of stress management: avoid, alter, adapt, accept, and adopt. The first stress management tool we will discuss is how to avoid unnecessary stress. Not all stress can be avoided, but there are stressors that you can eliminate. Learn how to say no. Know your limits, and when you reach that limit, do not accept added stress or responsibility. This may mean politely declining a social invitation in favor of a quiet night in, or it may mean talking to your supervisor about delegating responsibility. Avoid stressful people. There may be certain individuals who cause you stress. While we cannot always avoid these people completely, it is okay to set boundaries and limit the time you spend with them. Take control of your environment. Consider your workspace or home environment. Are there ways to avoid extra stress by organizing or rearranging your workspace? What can you cut down on or simplify? If you have difficulty falling asleep in your bedroom because of the piles of laundry on your bed or your restless dog, consider moving the dog bed to another room or folding laundry elsewhere. Small changes can help you to feel more relaxed in your environment. Avoid hot-button topics. If you are uncomfortable discussing religion or politics, take them off the table during conversations. You might try to change the subject or politely excuse yourself if you are uncomfortable, instead of participating in a conversation that makes you feel stressed or anxious. Finally, pare down your to-do list. Consider the expectations you set for yourself each day. Distinguish between the "I should" tasks and the "I must" tasks, and move tasks that are not truly necessary to the bottom of the list or eliminate them completely. When you cannot avoid the stressor, ask yourself what changes you can make to ease the stress. Express yourself. If someone or something is bothering you, communicate your concerns in an open and respectful way. This may be uncomfortable, but it will help you to avoid building resentments. Be open to compromise. Instead of causing tension by demanding that others do things your way, consider how you might meet others halfway. Compromise is a healthy way to reduce stress and frustration. Be assertive. Let others know where you stand and communicate your needs. It's unfair to involve others a problem at work or at home if they are unaware that they are taking a role in this situation. It is unfair to fault others for a problem at work or at home if they are unaware that their behavior is causing you stress. Anticipate and prevent problems through direct, honest, and fair communication. Finally, use time management skills. Set an alarm, plan ahead, prioritize, and don't overextend yourself. Consider your daily routine and ask yourself what small changes you might make to save time and energy. If you find yourself rushing every morning and arriving to work frazzled, you might consider setting your alarm for 10 minutes earlier. If you frequently forget to pack a lunch in the morning, try packing it the evening before. If you cannot change the stressor, ask how you might change yourself. Stress is unavoidable, but you can regain a sense of control by changing your expectations and your attitude. Reframe the problem. Have you considered all sides of this issue? Can you change your perspective? How might you find the positive in your current stressful situation? Is this truly the catastrophe that you are making it out to be, or might there be an opportunity to try something new or change directions here? Look at the big picture. Put things back into perspective for yourself by asking, how important is this? Will it matter in a month? In a week? Is this worth ruining my day over? If the answer is no, refocus your energy elsewhere. Adjust your standards. Set reasonable expectations. Perfectionism is a major source of avoidable stress. Be realistic with what you expect from yourself and from others. Lastly, focus on the positive. Develop a habit of looking for the good in others and focus your energy on the things in your life that you do have instead of what you don't. Train your mind to adopt an attitude of gratitude. Some sources of stress are unavoidable. You cannot prevent, avoid, change, or alter the death of a loved one or a national recession. In some cases, we must simply accept things as they are. Accepting the stress in your life means giving yourself the opportunity to look beyond what you cannot control. We cannot control the weather, the traffic lights, or the behavior of others. We can control how well we plan ahead and how we choose to respond and not react to the issues that arise. Look for the upside. When facing a challenge, look for opportunities for personal growth. If your own poor choices contributed to the stressor, reflect and learn from your mistakes. Share your feelings. Talking to a trusted friend or counselor can be very therapeutic, even if there isn't anything that you can do to alter the situation. Finally, learn to forgive. We live in an imperfect world. People will make mistakes, and others may hurt your feelings, just as you may hurt others. Releasing anger and resentments will allow you to refocus your energy and move on. Finally, the last A is adopt a healthy lifestyle. Small changes can make a big difference in the way that we think, act, and feel. Exercise regularly, maintain a healthy diet, reduce caffeine and sugar, avoid alcohol, cigarettes, and drugs, and practice healthy sleep hygiene. Most importantly, seek balance. Make time for friends and family. Incorporate time for relaxation into your routine. Take time to unplug from technology. Plan a vacation. Treat yourself to lunch with a friend, or schedule a massage. There is a time and a place for hard work and focus. However, finding a healthy work-life balance is key to stress management and personal wellness. A major part of living a healthy lifestyle is practicing good sleep hygiene. We need sleep in order to function at our best. We will now take a look at some of the basics on sleep and sleep hygiene. Sleep is a period of rest that is made up of distinct stages that cycle throughout the night in a predictable pattern. Sleep is divided into two basic categories. The first is non-REM sleep, which occurs in three distinct stages. Stage 1 is a period of light sleep. During this stage, you are easily awakened, your muscles begin to relax with occasional twitches, and eye movements slow. During stage 2, eye movements stop, and brain waves slow down, but you will experience occasional bursts of increased brain activity. Finally, stage 3. Stage 3 occurs soon after you fall asleep. This is a period of deep sleep during which it is difficult to awaken. Your heart and respiratory rates are slow and muscles are relaxed. REM sleep, also known as rapid eye movement sleep, occurs usually in the first 90 minutes after you fall asleep, and for longer, deeper periods during the second half of the night. During REM sleep, your eyes move rapidly beneath closed eyelids while breathing. Heart rate and blood pressure are irregular. Dreaming occurs during REM sleep, and arm and leg muscles are temporarily paralyzed. The human body produces two substances that drive the need for sleep. The first is adenosine. This substance builds up in your blood while you're awake and is broken down by the body while you sleep. Levels of this substance in your body may help trigger sleep when needed. A buildup of adenosine and many other complex factors might explain why, after several nights of less than optimal sleep, you build up a sleep debt. Because of your body's internal processes, you can't adapt to getting less sleep than your body needs. Eventually, a lack of sleep will catch up with you. The other substance that helps make you sleep is a hormone called melatonin. This hormone makes you naturally sleepy at night. It is a part of your internal biological clock, which controls when you feel sleepy and your general sleep habits. Your biological clock is a small bundle of cells in your brain that works throughout the day and night. Internal and external environmental cues, such as light signals received through your eyes, control these cells. Your biological clock triggers your body to produce melatonin, which helps prepare your brain and body for sleep. As melatonin is released, you'll feel increasingly drowsy. Because of your biological clock, you naturally feel the most tired between midnight and 7 a.m. You may also feel mildly sleepy in the afternoon between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. when another increase in melatonin occurs in your body. Sleep hygiene is the practice of healthy sleep habits that are necessary to maintain a pattern of quality nighttime rest and daytime alertness. Sleep has been linked to numerous health aspects as well as quality of life. Individuals who chronically suffer from a lack of sleep, either because they do not spend enough time in bed or because they have an untreated sleep disorder, are at greater risk of developing depression. Evidence is growing that sleep is a powerful regulator of appetite, energy use, and weight control. During sleep, the body's production of the appetite suppressor leptin increases, and the appetite stimulant ghrelin decreases. Studies find that the less people sleep, the more likely they are to be overweight or obese and prefer eating foods that are higher in calories and carbohydrates. Those who report an average total sleep time of 5 hours a night, for example, are more likely to become obese compared with people who sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. A number of hormones released during sleep also control the body's use of energy. A distinct rise and fall of blood sugar levels during sleep appear to be linked to sleep stages. Not sleeping at the right time, not getting enough sleep overall, or not enough of each stage of sleep disrupts this pattern. One study found that when healthy young men slept only 4 hours a night for 6 nights in a row, their insulin and blood sugar levels matched those seen in people who were developing diabetes. Another study found that women who slept less than 7 hours a night were more likely to develop diabetes over time than those who slept between 7 and 8 hours a night. There are a number of common sleep disorders that can disrupt sleep quality. At least 40 million Americans are affected by over 70 sleep disorders each year. This accounts for an estimated $16 billion in medical costs each year, not counting costs due to lost time at work, car accidents, and other factors. The four most common sleep disorders are insomnia, sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, and narcolepsy. Common signs and symptoms of a sleep disorder include taking more than 30 minutes to fall asleep at night, awakening frequently in the night and then having difficulty falling back to sleep, awakening too early in the morning, waking to find that you don't feel well rested despite spending 7 to 8 hours more or more asleep at night. You feel sleepy during the day and fall asleep within 5 minutes if you have an opportunity to nap, or you fall asleep unexpectedly or at inappropriate times during the day. Your bed partner claims that you snore loudly, snort, gasp, or make choking sounds while you sleep, or your partner notices that your breathing stops for short periods. You have creeping, tingling, or crawling feelings in your legs that are relieved by moving or massaging them, especially in the evening or when you try to fall asleep. You have vivid, dreamlike experiences while falling asleep or dozing. You have episodes of sudden muscle weakness when you are angry or fearful or when you laugh. You feel as though you cannot move when you first wake up. Your bed partner notices that your legs or arms jerk often during sleep. You regularly need to use stimulants to stay awake during the day. And finally, keep in mind that although children can show some of these signs of sleep disorders, they often do not show signs of excessive daytime sleepiness. Instead, they may seem overactive or have difficulty focusing and concentrating. There are a number of ways to improve the quality and amount of sleep you get. The key is finding what works for you. Stick to a sleep schedule. Go to bed and wake up at the same time each day, even on the weekends. Exercise. Try to exercise at least 30 minutes on most days, but not later than 2 to 3 hours before your bedtime. Avoid caffeine and nicotine. The stimulating effects of caffeine in coffees, colas, and certain teas can take as long as 8 hours to wear off fully. Nicotine is also a stimulant. Avoid alcoholic drinks before bed. A nightcap may help you get to sleep, but alcohol keeps you in lighter stages of sleep. You also tend to wake up in the middle of the night when the effects have worn off. Avoid large meals and beverages late at night. A large meal can cause indigestion that interferes with sleep. Drinking too many fluids at night can cause you to awaken frequently to urinate. Avoid medicines that delay or disrupt your sleep if possible. Some commonly prescribed heart, blood pressure, or asthma medications, as well as some over-the-counter and herbal remedies for coughs, colds, or allergies, can disrupt sleep patterns. Relax before bed. Take time to unwind. A relaxing activity such as reading or listening to music should be part of your bedtime ritual. Take a hot bath before bed. The drop in body temperature after the bath may help you feel sleepy, and the bath can help you relax. Have a good sleeping environment. Get rid of anything in your bedroom that might distract you from sleep, such as noises, bright lights, an uncomfortable bed, or a TV or computer in the bedroom. Also, keep the temperature in your bedroom on the cool side so you can sleep better. Have the right sunlight exposure. Daylight is key to regulating daily sleep patterns. Try to get outside in natural sunlight for at least 30 minutes each day. Don't lie in bed awake. If you find yourself still awake after staying in bed for more than 20 minutes, get up and do some relaxing activity until you feel sleepy. The anxiety of not being able to sleep can make it harder to fall asleep. See a doctor if you continue to have trouble sleeping. If you consistently find yourself feeling tired or not well rested during the day, despite spending enough time in bed at night, you may have a sleep disorder. Your family doctor or a sleep specialist should be able to help you.
Well, thank you, Megan. Great information, a lot of good information there. Now, to remind our listeners, your questions can be submitted from the box in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. We send the screen the list of references that Megan used for this presentation, and the next slide we're showing is a telephone number that Megan can be reached for additional questions also. Our first question, actually, let me get it open here. Asks, can this webinar be viewed later? And yes, the answer to that is definitely yes. And there's a slide. I'm going to try to fast forward here. You'll be able to see our webinar, mercycare.org/live. You can go back to that website and be able to view it. Usually, it'll be in within 48 hours. You'll be able to view that. And it will also be available on the Mercy Family Counseling website. Okay, next question is, Megan, you didn't mention faith and prayer, which helped me deal with my stresses. Can you address the impact of faith on stress?
Yes, faith can be a very good way to manage stress in terms of giving that stress up to your higher power, something that's greater than you. It allows you to really take some of the pressure off of yourself in terms of expecting to be able to manage everything all of the time.
Okay, Megan, another question here. It says, I am in the midst of a huge work project. It's causing a lot of stress for everyone in my department. Can you give a little more advice about dealing with workplace stress?
Yes, it is important at all times to maintain balance. It is important to have that strong work-life balance, knowing when to leave work at work, knowing when it is important to just give yourself a break, scheduling time with family outside of work, friends, social events, exercising, managing your diet and nutrition are all important parts of incorporating some of that balance into your life. In the midst of a big project like that, it's always important to find time to relax and give yourself a break during the day.
Okay, we have another question here. I'm concerned about my mother and personal issues she is facing. How do you know when to seek professional help?
You know, that is a really good question. It depends on the individual. When the stress is becoming such a big part of your life that it's interfering in a bigger way, when it's interfering in your day-to-day activities and you're unable to focus, that would be the time where I would recommend someone seeks help.
Okay, we have a question. Whoa, here, lost our. Get back to the screen that we want to be at here. The next question is related to the faith, and the question was, what about the benefits of meditation? Deep breathing, I know that type of thing. Is that? Can you go into that, any detail about that?
Yes. Part of faith involves whatever your higher power may be. That doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be a god or a specific religion or denomination. A higher power is anything that allows you to give credit to something bigger than you. Many people find the benefits of meditation and deep breathing Deep breathing includes, really taking the time to focus on your body, being mindful of the situation that you are in. Guided imagery can be very helpful for relaxation, meditation. It's all part of that idea of faith in a higher power.
Yeah, several questions coming in here. We're trying to sort them all out. Oh, a question. This may not be an area of your expertise, but any advice on choosing a pillow? It spends time adjusting the pillow and trying to make comfortable to fall asleep. That might be a question for a physical therapist, but part of that whole sleep hygiene issue that you were talking about?
Okay, this isn't an area of my specific expertise, but I would recommend, consulting with perhaps your primary care physician and asking for recommendations, trying a couple different options. Sometimes it's simply a matter of, how firm your pillow is, what type of neck support it's providing you. It's going to just be a matter of finding out what's going to work for you personally.
Okay, we've just been bombarded with questions here today. The next one is, can you tell me, are there any long-term side effects of taking meds such as Tylenol PM for a few times a week?
In regards to that question, I would encourage you to discuss that issue with your primary care physician and get a medical opinion regarding the safety practices of such medications.
Next question. My bed partner has sleep apnea and has recently started using a CPAP. In what ways would their condition have impacted my sleep quality? Well, I think it would definitely, be bringing another factor into your the sleeping situation. But Megan, what do you think?
Well, anytime you're sharing a bed or a room, you're going to be impacted by the breathing, the movements, the noises of the other individual. It is important to make sure that you try to find a situation, a balance that works for you and your bed partner. Maybe looking into the size of the bed that you have, looking into what type of mattress you have in terms of making you most comfortable.
The next question may be a question for your physician also, but she's referring to the, you discussed sugar and alcohol and impact those things have on sleep, but what about salt or salty foods? Does that have an impact on sleep?
It definitely can. I would imagine that if you're eating something out of the ordinary or something that is considerably more salty than you're used to, you may wake up with an extreme thirst. Again, I would encourage you to consult your primary care physician or a nutritionist and find out what's going to work for you. We really want to manage what we eat right before bed to make sure that you're not dealing with any issues of indigestion, thirst, or other issues.
Okay, Megan, do some people just have higher or lower needs for sleep? And this person writes that she feels good with just 6 hours of sleep, and you referred to the importance of getting 7 or 8 hours.
Again, it's going to be a very personal situation. Research does tell us that in order to function at our best, 7 to 8 hours of sleep is generally recommended. But I would also, again, encourage you to talk to your primary care physician or family doctor about your sleep habits.
What about the impact of using cell phones or computers right before bed? This person's writing in that he or she really likes to wind down before bed by reading emails.
That is a big issue today in our culture. We find that most of us reach for our cell phone, our laptop, our iPad right before bed, and research tells us that the stimulation we get from those bright lights is actually triggering our mind to stay awake longer, to be more active. So I would recommend that you give yourself about an hour of wind down time where you're not checking the phone or the iPad or the computer right before bed.
Another question here, elevation. Does this help a person who is struggling with sleep? Help them to breathe, with digestion? I mean, it makes sense that it would. It would help your body. But Megan, what do you think?
It certainly might. Again, all of these questions are very specific to each individual, and you have to find what's going to work personally for you. If you do have difficulty breathing or with indigestion, it might help to prop a pillow or two, under your back. Give it a try and see if it works for you. There are also specific mattresses that are designed for that kind of issue. But again, I would recommend talking to your family doctor or primary care physician to get some medical answers to that kind of question.
Good question coming in. Are there area support groups for managing stress? Now, I know there are support groups for a lot of topics. Megan, are you aware of any specifically to stress?
I would recommend that in order to find any information on support groups in the area that you call our Mercy Family Counseling office at 319-398-6575 or check out the Mercy Family Counseling website.
And that really leads perfectly into this slide, that if you have any questions, after we end the live webinar, that Megan can be reached at this number that's on your screen right now. Now, like I said before, a tape of this program will be available at mercycare.org/live within the next day or two, and then you can always check this website for information about future webinars or listen to any of our past webinars. Our next webinar topic is Picture a Healthier, Happier You with Stephanie Neff, who is the Community Program Manager for the Blue Zone Project in Cedar Rapids, and Christian Cook, who is the Mercy Wellness Coach. This is going to be, I think we went one step ahead. This is going to be broadcast Tuesday, June 18th from noon to 1, and they will take questions live after their discussion. Now, I do want to point out that we are making some changes to the Mercy Live webinars. So if you are a regular attendee, you might notice our registration process for the July webinar might be slightly different, but the format of the live webinars will remain unchanged. Now the slide that I jumped ahead to, if you are interested in future Mercy webinars or events, you may sign up for Mercy's electronic newsletter at www.mercycare.org/e-news. Okay, we have one last question. I'm ready to head home, and I'm already stressed about everything that's been going on. How should I deal with that now? Deep breath, maybe? What do you think, Megan?
Well, it's important to find a balance and really find whatever's going to work for you to allow you to leave work at work. We all tend to, think about that email we need to send or the patient that we had today when we're at home with our families or our friends. But part of maintaining balance is knowing when to turn off the work part of our lives and just focus on the relaxation. Making time to exercise after work, doing something you love like cooking dinner or going for a walk with a friend are all good ideas. Basically just finding what coping skills are going to work for you.
Great advice. Megan, I believe we have now covered all the questions submitted to us, but if you have additional questions or concerns, again, Megan can be reached at 319-398-6575. We had one last email that came through. How do we get the slides? The slides are not available in the specific PowerPoint slide, but they are available, and you'll be able to view the webinar in its entirety. And again, if you have additional questions specifically to any part of this, just give Megan a call. Thank you all for joining us today.